We're live with Max.
Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger Maxwell Ivy, and this is another episode of The Accessibility Advantage. You can find the podcast and me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. That's also where you can reach out if you want to hire me as a writer, speaker, accessibility consultant, or podcaster. And I do appreciate y'all joining us. So today I have with me Stephen Swagstaff, aka Swags. He is the CEO and founder of Swagability. His life changed when he was 18 when he had a diving injury that caused the cutting or the damage to the C5 vertebra, and he has been a quadriplegic ever since. He is blessed to go through life as part of an interabled couple, saying that he depends or collaborates with his wife, Julie, aka Mrs. Swags, and their goal is to improve the lives of people within the disability community because everybody should have the opportunity to live life to the fullest. And y'all can find my buddy Swags at swagability.com. So, Stephen or Swags, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thanks for joining me today.
Max, it's been a blast getting to know you, and it's a joy to be on this side of the mic. It's exciting. So looking forward to some great conversation.
Right. So before I get to the conversation, since you brought that up, for people who are podcast hosts and considering going on the other side of the mic to promote their podcast, what are your initial thoughts so far?
With being a guest or with using a podcasting platform?
Being a guest for the first time or one of very few times so far for you.
Well, I would say I said to my wife before I got on, I'm actually more nervous because I don't have control. Like when you're hosting, at least you can direct the conversation somewhere. So when you're receiving questions that you have no idea which they're coming out of right field or left field, so it keeps you on your toes and makes sure that you're thinking critically about everything you say, for sure.
Yeah, I find that to be the most difficult part is having to think in terms of my business and my brand and making sure that I'm focusing all my answers on the particular subject without coming off as somebody who's a salesperson.
That's the hardest thing to do because you want to drop your social media links or you want to drop your handles here or whatever like that. But yeah, I think, well, actually it's a privilege though, more than anything, because it gives you exposure to a whole set of people that have no idea who I am, and vice versa. If I'm sharing the podcast on my side, it introduces you to a whole new crowd of people. So I think it's just
Right.
great.
And
Networking is great.
yeah, and I'm especially looking forward to coming on your podcast tomorrow because, quite honestly,
Mm.
I have not done enough to reach out within the disability community or the community of people who support those of us with disabilities. So I'm looking forward to getting in front of what will probably be a brand new audience for me for the most part on your podcast. So,
Will be, yes, sir. Looking forward to that.
yeah. So let's start by telling them what your life was like before the injury, and then, how how you adjusted to it, and what you learned about yourself and others as a result of being quadriplegic.
Wow, that's a great question. Who was Steve Wagstaff prior to August 2nd, 96, 3:04 p.m. in the afternoon on a 30-degree day? Remember it like it was yesterday. He was a happy, fun-loving, wanted to always be the jokester of whatever company he was in. Was the younger brother of of remember the TV show Leave It to Beaver? That's what we were always called growing up. I had yeah, Wally was not there, but my sister Krista was, and so yeah, there's my sister and I, my mom and dad, and we had a little bit wild of a upbringing. My father went through bone marrow transplant because of his leukemia, and fought for his life that way, and then ended up back then mental health wasn't talked about, but he ended up um, locked in a psych ward because of the amount of damage some of those anti-rejection drugs did to him. And so as a teenager watching your idol and man change over that course of the year, that was really difficult. And then shortly after that, we dealt with the same thing with a grandfather. Then, shortly after my accident, 96, my mother got pancreatic cancer and passed away. And while all this was happening, and my wife and I were dating, before that, she lost her father to cancer. So there was quite a bit going on in our life at that time. It wasn't the ideal time for Steve to go jump off a dock head first, to say the least. But no, uh, I can't complain about that. Love sports, played it at a high level, basketball and baseball. Thought about trying to make a career out of that, but I was a mama's boy, and I didn't want to leave home or leave my hometown. So um, I just settled for staying close to home and attending a local college, and was to start the following Monday in uh, basically a auto mechanic shop for boats, because I love to be on the water, and that's where we grew up in northern Ontario. Everything was connected by waterways. And I think post that, um, it was I felt more the day of the accident. Um, it was something I'll never forget. Um, Being the life of a party, I came down to meet a couple friends. It was a Friday afternoon, like I said, 30-degree day Celsius anyway in Canada, and they were out swimming in an unfamiliar place, and I thought they were kneeling. Or I thought they were swimming, treading water, and I ran down the end of a dock, wanted to dive in beside them, but rather than treading water, they were kneeling, and so it was a sandbar. That just one of those foolish things that you don't think about as a kid. Is You're invincible at that age, and then instantly, when I hit the bottom of the river, I was paralyzed, unable to move anything below my shoulders. And by the grace of God, I managed to hold my breath for what felt like an eternity until one of my friends got there and picked me up and went to turn me over. But I guess another friend hollered at him, leave him alone type thing. They wanted to turn me over and float me in the water. So he dropped me back in, and I thought he got scared and was going to get an ambulance or something. And my burning lungs were just about to expire when another good friend of mine got me over and turned me on my back. And from there, helicopter came and took me to downtown Toronto, and I spent a year there in a rehab hospital. And yeah, during that time, a young lady by the name of Julie started to visit. Couldn't figure that out why, um, and it turned out that a high school friend turned into a lifelong committed wife and caregiver. So um, that's a nutshell of what happened with swagability in in 5 minutes.
Okay, so we've gotten to the point that you are starting to adjust to the new version of swags.
Mm.
You found a woman that's become your your
Mm,
wife, and one of the things I know that you're very passionate about is supporting caregivers, because at one
mm,
point your wife was pretty much your sole caregiver, and
mhm.
almost caused her to have burnout. And those are the kind of things that people deal with nowadays, because in so many cases somebody in the family has to be the caregiver instead of a caregiver from the government or a nonprofit, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, that was a that I think what I mentioned earlier with my father in locked in that psych ward, and mental health was taboo to talk about back in the early 90s, mid 90s. Um, and I think right now, today, caregiver burnout is at epidemic proportions, but no one's talking about it, because who wants to say to a loved one, I'm tired of caring, I can't do this anymore? Or one brother and a sister trying to take care of a family member, and one feels that they're not pulling their load while the other one feels like they're doing way too much, and it causes friction in the relationship. And so we have a real heart for that. When my wife um, was going through her cancer surgeries a couple years back, um, when she came back, I just realized that um, how difficult it is to be on the other side of the bed when I was trying to care for her, and I couldn't imagine after her surgeries. She was trying to care for me at the same time and recover from those. And it was just a perfect storm for burnout. And it near cost us our marriage until we identified it, and sought to get some good, wise counsel in how do we do this thing called caregiving. And yeah, that's why we're so passionate about it at Swagability, is to shine a light on it, but more so intervene in cases to give people the relief they need. And that's just one pillar that that Swagability really thinks is important to take care of.
Right. And one of the main purposes of swagability.com is to raise funds to provide caregivers to people who need them, if for nothing else, for short periods of time,
Mm,
to allow family members to reset and to hopefully either find new energy or find new solutions.
absolutely. Yeah, that's our goal is to try and partner with um, whether they're agencies that are out there that will, at a reduced rate, step in and allow us as a nonprofit to pay for their workers to go in, and during that time, work with the family to try and find some sort of government funding, or even work out a structure between family. And I think that works out good for the company, because they may end up with a customer at the end of it, but it also works out well for those that are involved, because I don't know what I would do today without the caregivers I have in my life. I thought that would be around 65, maybe 70. I would be looking at that, but at 48, um, I now have a marriage back because I have a wife, and she's not trying to wear two hats as a caregiver and a wife. It's allowed us to have a relationship back, and my caregivers are phenomenal. They're in and out, get me prepared for the day, and then it allows us to do things with Julie, have energy, and myself. Um, yeah, to go with, obviously, in a relationship, as opposed to, yeah, her being tired.
Right. Now, the point of what we've been talking about so far is to get to the conversation about why caregivers are so important, why people should care about people with disabilities having this support so that they're able to contribute to society, or to at least be able to have
Mm.
a certain quality of life.
Yeah, I mean, trying to do it ourselves, Max, along with I do, we can do it. I can do it, but the amount of energy it takes for Steve Wagstaff to get himself rolled out of bed or get dressed or whatever. I mean, I would expend probably 3 hours probably trying to dress, clothe, do that stuff, and then at the end of that, um, try to then have the energy to then go to work or do those other things that are important in a day. You can maintain that for a little while, but long term, that really weighs on you and really robs you of a quality of life. So it's accepting humility, um, recognizing that we are there, we have limitations, and sometimes admitting those things is one of the hardest things we have to do. But when we finally do make that switch in our mind, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Right. And more importantly, when people don't have access to a caregiver and they have to spend that time and energy taking care of somebody with a disability or somebody
Mm,
with issues around aging, then they aren't able to have employment. And they may end up having
yeah,
to decide between a job that pays the bills
mm,
and being able to care for somebody who needs their help.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, you couldn't have said it any more clear than that. And the unspoken tension that's in the air. I mean, you don't. I didn't want to ask Julie for certain things because I know she's tired, but there were certain things I just could not do if I tried. So you ask, and it wasn't angry at the task. She was just tired of being tired. And so then she's doing the same thing, trying not to sound ungrateful or uncaring. So she's walking on eggshells. And so it just creates a stressful environment, and a lot of, and can cause a lot of friction. So um, I just think it needs to be an open conversation that caregivers are needed. They need to know they're valued and treated with respect. And yeah, and in return of the service you receive from them, um, there's so much benefit. There's so many benefits to it. Um, it's not my wife getting on me about doing physio. It's not my wife getting on me about whatever. It's another individual coming into the house that has an expectation that I'll be doing, my lower extremities will be stretched or those type of things. So um, it just yeah, I'm responsible for getting up at a certain time, um, and so it just, I think it makes for um, a much better environment in the home, at least in the long term.
Right. And it's really important that you and other groups like yours are active going forward, raising funds for caregivers, because it seems like some of the government support and
Mm,
investment in caregivers is going away.
yeah, yeah, it's sometimes difficult to find, but then other times, even when they do a subsidy portion of it, I think we just need to make noise enough to know that these programs that at least are in place in my province in Canada are important, and I think there needs to be enough noise made to let the people in government and in charge of these fundings to know that it, you end up with not with just messy relationships. You end up with people that aren't cared for in a way that can cause illness, can cause a fall, can cause areas of expense in other ways with a hospital stay because you haven't been able to have your bladder drained, so you get a UTI. There's so many implications, um, and caregivers are so needed in these situations, especially with the silver tsunami coming. Those baby boomers, there's a whole wave of individuals that are reaching an age where they're just going to need to accept that help is something that's not going to be optional. It's going to be needed.
Yeah. And it's a wonder that group isn't more active in the discussion around
Mm,
financially supporting caregivers than they are. But I guess it's
Mm.
until you get to that point where you need them, it's not something that comes into
Yeah.
your consciousness on a daily basis.
It's something I pushed, at least on my calendar, 20 more years post, if I made it that far, than I really thought I needed. But in hindsight, when I look back, since I've started having outside caregivers coming in, my health has improved. My quality of life, my relationship with my wife, our timeliness, you name it, it has just been a night and day difference, allowing me to, you know, come up and run a non-profit organization. I mean, there wouldn't be the energy and even
And
the
that's
mind space left to try that.
yeah, and that's the other aspect of caregiving for people of your age that aren't necessarily in the area people would expect you to need a caregiver. But for
Mm,
people with disabilities, the caregiver can allow people like you and me to have a podcast, to operate a business or a nonprofit,
yes,
and to contribute in the economy in a way we wouldn't without the support of other people.
you nailed it. Yeah, you're right. It does. There's no way I could be contributing to the needs of people's, because my needs would be so great. I wouldn't have time. As much as it's in my heart to always want to help people, at the end of the day, if you don't have the energy, or I was always told, it's like a pond. If you're constantly pouring out and you don't have anything pouring in, you just become empty and stagnant pond. You always need that uh, fresh energy, fresh water flowing in to your life in order to make it, so you can outflow to others.
Right. And I think about people like my friend Eric in in Ohio, who, because of the caregivers he has access to in his state, that he's been able to create a recording studio and that's
Wow.
completely accessible, and he's been able to help other uh, independent artists release albums, create
Mm.
artwork, produce merchandise that they sell, which supports themselves and affects the economy in in many different areas. So it's not just allowing us to contribute; it's allowing us to contribute and then seeing the impact that has on others, so that they can be successful as well.
That's a great point. Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, it's so funny. It's a topic that, you would never think would hardly come up, but I think if it were a topic that were talked about more openly in families, um, openly with government and officials, or with people in general that have the financial resources or whatever, $5, $20 to commit to something, that would allow programs like mine and many others out there to be able to fund individuals. So, um, you've got members that aren't just having their needs met, but they become a cog in the wheel of society, because everyone needs productivity. We were put here for productivity. And without it, social isolation is the only other option.
Yes, productivity, work, volunteer efforts,
Mm,
hobbies. They're while they add movement, they also create opportunities for socialization. So yeah,
yeah,
isolation comes from lack of activity, definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were gonna if you were gonna tell people why they should care about somebody with a disability having a caregiver, so they why would what would you tell those people who are like, for what it will cost us, it's not in our best interest as a business, as a government agency, as a nonprofit to invest in something like this.
I'd say the first thing would be it's because it hasn't hit home to them. They may be independent now, but I would challenge them to think, whatever their age, add 20 years to it, add 30 years to it, and put yourself in that scenario. Because the reality is, we come in as children that always needed care. We become self-sufficient for a period of time in our lives, and there's going to come a point for most of us that at some time we're going to have to either ask for help or accept it. And if you can put your mindset into the spot where you've never thought that, oh, I'll never need it, to all of a sudden finding yourself faced with your inability to do something on your own, or your loved one is no longer there, or your spouse, you don't have that relationship, and then you're trying to think, who would help me with that, or who would do that for me, or who would get me dressed in a day if I needed it. um, I think it's having those people um, do a mind exercise to say, wow, where would I be in a situation like that? Because the reality is, if they looked around, um, people with disabilities were everywhere. I mean, there's 1.6 billion on the planet that have a disability. So when you're talking about, it doesn't even have to be a physical, I mean, emotional, there's all sorts of inabilities. And there's a very good chance that the person that doesn't think they're ever going to need it is going to be someone down the road that is going to need it. So I would say pay it forward. You don't think you need it now, you will one day, and you may be in a position where you're going, how am I going to afford that, or who's going to do that? And I would say, pay it forward, and and see what happens when it is your term or time to receive help.
Right. And you've said receive help a couple of times, and I'm known for talking about interdependence, which is asking for asking for help or opportunities or accepting them. And one thing I've learned over the years is that it's difficult for people to ask for things
Yes.
for help, but it's many times more difficult for most people to accept help
Yeah.
because that just attacks the ego. And
Yep.
then I have to remind people to focus on the other person and how it makes you feel when you do something nice for somebody who can only say thank you. And I'm actually known for an expression that if I don't drop it here, I have a few fans online who will ask me why I didn't. So I like to say, when you refuse to ask, you rob the other person of the
Of
joy they would
course.
have received.
Yes.
So, but that's not the same. It doesn't apply the same way when we're talking about caregivers or volunteer agencies where somebody may be housebound, they may be isolated,
Mhm.
and even though they may not really have a choice but to accept the help, they will still fight it, won't they?
Our whole being fights it. And I'm not going to go religious or crazy on you in any sort, but as a pastor, I realize it's the ego of mankind that it's hard to accept grace. It's just something that we feel we need to offer something in exchange for. So in receiving something, um, yeah, it's difficult. And you're right. I was always raised that when someone asks you if they can help you with this, or they give you something towards it, my dad would always say, "Don't rob them of their blessing." I mean, some people's greatest joy is to give. I mean, that's one of my love languages, is giving to others something, and I get joy in seeing that individual supported, helped, or doing something that they couldn't do unless there was intervention by someone. And so I think that there is that part that when you give, and I know as a kid you always hear, "Oh, it's better to give than it is to receive," and that doesn't work well at Christmas. But in the reality of things, I found as an adult, I get much more pleasure out of giving and supporting people uh, than I do, um, yeah, receiving.
So let's talk about swagability.com
Mm,
and your YouTube channel, etc. Talk about some of the things you all are
yeah,
using the platform to draw attention to besides raising money and helping with caregivers.
yeah. Thanks, Max. We have two podcasts. We have the Swagability Show, And my wife and I also host a second podcast called The Invisible Caregiver. And that talks about some of the things we've talked about today, trying to shine a light on the importance of um, accepting help, but the importance um, of supporting caregivers, especially those in a family. Yes, there's professional ones that are getting paid. They still need to be treated with respect and get to know, and they become like family to you. Mine have anyway. And so, yeah, there's two podcasts we have, and we try and get them out weekly. The Swagability Show, we're on pace to put out probably two episodes a week, and that we like to shine the light on um, what's up and coming with assistive technology, what's the latest in health advancements, what's an individual who's gone through something that can teach us something amazing about ourselves that they overcame. That's what the Swagability Show is all about, and you can find that on our YouTube channel. Swagability is. Oh, I'm sorry, my service dog decided to make an
Don't
entry.
worry about it. Don't
All
worry
right,
about it. We've had our own background noise here at Team Ivy today too, so don't worry about it.
all right, I appreciate
I
that.
actually prefer dogs over other options.
Yes, sir.
I miss our last dog, Miss Penny, but
Uh,
some dogs leave such a big hole in your heart that you're not willing to try that again.
we said the same thing. I lost our chocolate, served a 7-year-old chocolate lab just before Christmas, and we said never again. And now we have three. So uh, that's played out in a manner we didn't see it coming. But yeah, our social media links are the same. If you look up Swagability Inc., most likely Swagability will get you there. Most domains and search engines and things will. You type in the word Swagability will appear there. And yeah, it's just not about caregiving. Our tagline or what we want is Swagability is all about thriving where life finds you. And whether that's an adaptive aid or a product that you've never been introduced to that we need to get into your hands, or that's a connection we need to make to you with someone else that's been through something that all of a sudden you're finding yourself in, making those connections, life coaching. Um, there's a lot there at swagability.com, a community you can join. And so we're just trying to make uh, uh, a little bit in our little side of Canada, in our pond. We're just trying to make a little bit difference here, and
right now,
one day at a time.
the last time we talked, you told me about some rather exciting new adaptive tech, most of which I had not heard about yet. Apparently, I'm still not signed up to the right news feed because some of these things you were telling me about. What are a couple of the assistive technology things that you're really excited about for the near future?
I think when it comes to assistive technology, I know we're always you always think of parents telling kids to get off the gaming systems, get off they should be doing video games. But what I have seen in the advancements towards technology of accessing a computer or accessing a console to play a game, I mean, they're looking at eye switches, uh, eyebrow twitches, like a twitch switch, um, blinking, contact lens that look as a mouse and a click. So I've been overwhelmed. A sip and puff technology, but there's a gentleman, Rocky No Hands, they call him in the online world of gaming. But that's another area where it really combats social isolation is the gaming area, and a lot of it can be used um, for even with the virtual reality. I use a lot of virtual reality things for exercise now. Um, in terms of clothing, stuff that I would have never thought about, but a lot of the clothing I wear. Even the shirt like I would have on now looks like a well buttoned up shirt, but I get them from a company called Magna Ready. And great story of a woman who saw a need with her husband having a stroke, and so magnets sewn inside for the buttons, but they're in men's dress shirts. There's adaptive pants. My shoes are. Everyone's always commenting on the style of them, but the whole top of it zips off, not completely, enough so I can slip my foot in and do them back up with a zipper, um, just to make sure my toes are not squished and I'm not going to break one of them. And so it's all over the place, from electronics to clothing to uh, advancements in our vehicles. Um, it's just been amazing to
I
see.
find I find the video game stuff especially interesting because for years the video game industry really fought the whole idea of being inclusive of people with disabilities. But once they came around to the idea,
Mm,
they're now doing some groundbreaking
they
research
are.
and development.
Sony just released their Access controller, and that was to try and one up Microsoft's adaptive controller, which are phenomenal. And even yes, there's the big players in the like the names like Sony and your Microsofts, but there are so many other smaller inventors that have come along to allow you to plug and play. Only my right hand works a little bit, so there's an invention that 3D printed a joystick that only has buttons on the right side of it, and they made it so it can plug into any console. Same with computers. So many things that wherever you have a movement or a strong point, uh, they can almost attach a switch or a device that enables you to do things that even 3 or 4 years ago weren't around. So I'm excited at where the future is going with that, and we're trying to keep people informed and trialing the things. They don't know it unless someone tries it. So, um, if
Yeah, um, yeah, and that's where we really need more online content creators, not
yes,
just the individuals, but the major publications like Men's Quarterly, like
hmm
Consumer Reports, like we need home and garden. We need these major
yes,
outlets to start embracing accessibility as part of evaluating products going
we
forward. We need more of
we
that.
we just did that, and I mean, we're certainly not MGM Studios by any means, but I was about to put out a video on and I'm sure the idea has already been out there, but we created raised garden beds for our vegetable garden that we've always grown, but we put them up to my height. We used 6 2x4s on each side, and then anyway, with just
Yeah,
a
I
little
know.
more money
My
spent.
my uncle did the same thing for his sister-in-law
Yeah.
before she passed away, but he went one better.
Okay.
Here in Houston, where I live, we have a lot of trouble with deer
Okay.
and with squirrels and other critters. So
Yeah.
what he did was he built a cage and he connected the cage to a boat winch. So the cage could be raised up. His sister-in-law could walk under the cage and work on her garden. And then when she was through
Ah.
working in the garden, she could lower the cage back down and know that the critters weren't going to get to her food.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that saves screaming out the window and your neighbors down the road wondering if you're having a domestic altercation, because wildlife abounds very much in our area. We're on, 2.5 acres surrounded by no one other than, a neighbor way down the road. So,
Yeah,
um, just rural Eastern Canada.
yeah,
But yeah, raised garden beds. I think if the world would, yes, it's great to have doorways that don't have lips or sidewalks that have a scoop so wheelchair. But if that's your understanding of accessibility, you need to expand your mind, because accessibility could be um, could be built very simply into almost everything that an able-bodied person does. I don't think there's a reason in this day and age why someone with a disability couldn't, in some way, do almost what a person with full abilities could do with technology and assistance that we have.
Right. Well, I don't know if you saw my post or not, but I recently had a pretty serious fall while visiting Chicago, and so
Yeah.
since then I've noticed that I am being much more aware
Mm.
of accessibility for people with physical disability
Yeah.
that just never really sunk into me before. And like I was just in Grand Rapids a few weeks ago speaking at a conference,
Mm.
and I remember commenting to the hotel manager on how the first room I'd ever been in, where the door to the bathroom and the door to the shower were both sliding doors.
Yeah.
I commented that the bathroom still needed to be wider in my opinion,
Mm.
but it's just the kind of things that I didn't really notice before because obviously my thing is vision loss.
Hmm.
So it's one of the reasons why we have to have conversations like this more and collaborate across disability lines more.
And it can be done with grace, right? Like in terms of talking to, I find access ways so difficult in a power chair and a service dog to boot, right? Because the door has to stay long enough for me to get through and not squish
Oh
my
my
dog
God! Yeah,
behind it,
I didn't even think about
right?
that. But yeah, figuring out how long to set
Yeah,
those timers for and making
yeah,
sure that whatever that number is
that's right.
stays. But you're right. Accessibility is far too often limited in
Mhm.
people's expression of what they included. But me and you both know the truth. The truth is that accessibility benefits everyone.
Yeah.
That
Mhm. Yeah, you hear so many comments like that. Bathroom sizes or like if it's accessible to someone with a physical disability or even if it's made easier that way, it honestly it benefits. There's no deficit to others. It just it makes it that much more. And I think we need to be. I think we need to be a united voice, not in a complaining way. I've been at baseball games where people whine and complain when there's a home run hit because people stand up in front of them. It's going to happen. I'd stand up if I could. I mean, that embarrasses me when you get people screaming at people. I can't see. I don't have legs. Well, the point is that um, if you say things in a graceful way and a mannerism, talking to people about accessibility and how it could improve, I think people are open to as long as it's a conversation rather than an ornery complaint. I think you get a lot further that way, um,
well, I'm,
and then
I'm
we will.
I'm glad to see that we agree on that because I do agree with you. My approach has always been that a positive, non-threatening conversation is better than
Yeah,
quoting regulations
yeah,
and coming at somebody threatening them or their business or their organization.
mhm,
And I mean, unfortunately, you have to have both. But
mm.
the, the the current situation is we spend far more time as a community focused on compliance than we do on collaboration.
That's yeah. If the two could be reversed, I tell you, the world would be a different place. Yeah, it's that principle, right? Love my brother as myself, right?
Yeah.
Love the other individual as I do myself, or greater than I do myself. So
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way. Um, yeah, I mean, we
Well,
passed July. That was Disability Awareness Month. The ADA Act signed in the month of July, and so yeah, you've raised some great points on the show today.
yeah, I've been, and really enjoyed talking with you again, Swags. I'm sure this
Yeah,
won't be the last time we sit. Oh, we know we're going to talk tomorrow for sure.
absolutely.
Y'all can find Swags at swagability.com. When I post the audio, there'll be links to wherever you can find him. But he's told you how to find him on all the platforms.
Mm.
I do hope you will consider, at the very least, sharing the link to his website and helping drive traffic to his fundraiser because he is raising money to support caregivers and to help families or help individuals get a break from the stress, from the anxiety, from the hurt feelings, so that they can make some better decisions and try to move forward. And every time we support a caregiver, we could be supporting the next inventive entrepreneur, the next podcasting superstar, the next, even the next entertainment celebrity, the next movie star could be somebody in a wheelchair. But people can't write scripts or record podcasts in many cases without support of a caregiver. So please visit swagability.com. Share the link, contribute if you can. Consider telling your friends about some of the products you see on this website. Really, like I say, Swags, really appreciate you having you on the show. And as far as y'all that have been listening to us today, this is the Accessibility Advantage. You can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. I'm available to help you improve the accessibility of your products, services, and content so you can reach the disability market, which, as we've talked about, is a huge market of highly loyal consumers who will advocate for your business. Reach out to me on theaccessibilityadvantage.com, and we can discuss helping you be a trailblazer, be an innovator, and grow your company. So until next time, I want to thank y'all for joining us. Hope you join us again in the future. Disabled people, we tell our friends and share to our social sites. Don't think about how hard it is. Just focus on those dollar signs. 'Cause accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person.
Item chooser menu. One item end stream button. End stream button. End of stream. Outro set not yet. End stream. End stream button. Stream.